Welcome to Be Brilliant with Jing Lang, the podcast dedicated to those seeking to excel in every aspect of their lives. Through conversations with her guests, Jing will tease out personal stories, helpful tips, and proven strategies to help you elevate your life and reach your highest potential. Get ready to dive in and discover what it means to be truly brilliant. And now, here's your host, Jing Lang.
Darryl Wagner is a globally experienced insurance executive. As a principal at Deloitte, Darryl's experience encompassed a broad spectrum of insurance product lines and range from technical expertise to operational and transformational leadership. Darryl currently serves on the board of the Chief Actuaries Forum and the advisory board for the University of Nebraska Actuarial Program. Darryl, where are you joining us from today?
Hi, Jing. I am joining you from New York City, where I'm sitting in the Deloitte office at 30 Rockefeller Center. And it's a pleasure to be with you today.
I'm so happy to have you, Darryl. So give us a flyover journey of your career.
Sure. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, went to the University of Nebraska. I'm a proud Cornhusker. I started my career in industry at Cigna. I moved to the Hartford area and lived there for a number of years. And as I left Cigna, I got a call about an opportunity to join a practice that was just being built at Arthur Andersen, one of the then large accounting professional services firms. Spent a number of years there. And of course, that story had quite an interesting ending, as I'm sure you know. And for the last 22 years, I've been at Deloitte, where I've had the opportunity to work with great clients, great people, serve in leadership roles in the US and globally. And throughout my career, I've been an active volunteer with the SOA, with the International Actuarial Association, and have been able to play the roles of father, musician, world traveler, and a bit of a holistic health enthusiast.
There's so much to unpack there. Let me start with a company that didn't make it. So that was 2002-ish, like 20
Yes.
somewhat years ago. And
Yes.
wrong, all the other company went down around the same time.
Exactly.
And I believe you were in your late 30s and you were principal already, right, at that point.
I was.
Tell me what you learned from that very unsolicited experience.
Wow. Yeah, it was a big experience. I'm sure, as and you and most of your listeners know, Arthur Andersen went down in 2002 following a number of events. What did I learn from it? I learned that human resilience is really powerful, and perspective is so important, because at the time it just it seemed the world was falling apart. But as I look back now, I and my colleagues have landed well and continue to have prosperous careers. So it's so important to keep those things in mind when you're in those dark experiences.
What do you credit to, I guess, landing in Deloitte after?
Yeah, I'd say a couple things. Part of that resilience is, I really think experiences can bring out good, they can bring out bad. In this case, I really feel they brought out good, brought out the best in people. So we were all focused on helping our colleagues, and especially some of our more junior colleagues, find a good home post Andersen and a place where they could continue and grow their careers. And part of that was by working our networks, and there were a number of firms that really leaned in to help. Of course, Deloitte being one, a number of us joined Deloitte. But two others I would call out are Aetna, who in the Hartford area took a number of our folks, and Willis Towers Watson, who just really spent a lot of time and offered a lot of opportunities to our folks. So it really reinforced that power. And for me personally, there was an individual named Ed at Deloitte who I had met through some volunteering work while I had been at Andersen. And unbeknownst to me, Ed put his hand up and said, "Hey, I know Darryl. I've worked with him and had a good experience. Maybe we should talk to him." So it's just the power of resilience, the power of network. And in my case, volunteering can truly be life-changing.
That's remarkable. I believe many societies are recognizing a job in volunteer base, and hopefully stories like this would encourage people to continue to volunteer, because you don't know where your next job lies. You don't know where your next friendship lies. And frankly, you and I connected because of volunteering. We both know Jill Hoffman, based in Singapore. Can you tell me maybe top 3 experience of volunteering, aside from this amazing one you just talked about?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Well, I'll start off with the most fun, and definitely the most fun, the most enjoyable experience I've had is playing with my band, the the regulators at a couple of the large impact meetings for the SOA. The last time was 2019, where we were in Toronto, and I just remember coming together the weekend before the meeting and having a great time playing music, getting to know each other better. This is a group of actuaries that share a common interest in music, and it's been so much fun. And I'm definitely eager to get them back on stage again.
That's amazing. Well, I see you guys at the National Harbor meeting coming up this impact.
We're not planning to play this year, but keep an eye out. I'm hoping soon. And, I know I'm on the ballot for President-Elect. If I'm elected, it'll be one of my goals to get the regulators back on stage. You can count on that.
I love that. And you said there are two others?
Yes. Two others I would highlight. One is I would put this more in the education and research. IFRS 17 is a topic that I've spent a lot of time with professionally. For those who don't know, it's the recently adopted global insurance accounting framework, which is used over most of the world. It's not officially adopted in the U.S., but many U.S. companies report under IFRS 17. And I've done a couple of things with the SOA. I was part of a team that authored a textbook on the topic, which I believe is going to be a great resource for a lot of people. And then I also was part of a project oversight group to develop a certificate program in IFRS 17. It's called IFRI. That is International Financial Reporting for Insurers.
Okay.
And so I got to help develop that as well as deliver some of the training, which I really enjoyed. Even though it's accounting, some people might say, oh, that's accounting, that's financial reporting. But I think of it as storytelling. It's a new language for the businesses we serve. And the actuaries can play such a big role in helping to communicate in that new language. And it's also a team sport. I love areas where you get to work with different disciplines, accountants, technologists. And I've just really enjoyed that aspect, as well as the great team at the SOA I've worked with.
That's amazing. Well, the SOA ballot, I have to talk about that. So aside from bringing the regulators back as a campaign promise, what are two other top policies you want to share with us?
Yes, I have been, as I've thought about my vision for the SOA and what I'd like to see for our association, but also for our profession. First of all, I've anchored on the word amplify, and I will acknowledge that that's partly a call out to my musical interest and musical background. But I think it works so well because the SOA has got a great strategic plan. I think we're hitting the right areas, but I do think we've got opportunity to amplify that. The three that I've focused on are amplifying our impact as actuaries, our identity, and our intersections. And, each of those is kind of an interesting topic in and of themselves, but I think there's opportunity within each of those areas.
Very good.
And, I'll just pick one, for example, identity. Me, amplifying identity is really a couple of things. One is expanding our identity, making it bigger by enhancing skill sets. How are we going to, work with AI and other technologies? How are we going to take on wider fields, bigger challenges, deliver more value as we're able to do that more efficiently with technology? But the other part of that is not just making our identity bigger, but making it better understood and more widely known. And I think that's both with stakeholders, those we serve and want to help, including society and the public, as well as current and future members. I've had the ability or the opportunity to interact with students and others considering the profession. And I'm concerned that they don't see the full richness, if you will, of the opportunity that our profession provides. So I'm all about amplifying in all of those ways and more. And I think the same can be true of our impact and the intersections, meaning those we work with within the actuarial profession and outside the profession.
I want to ask a question that is somewhat controversial because we're having trouble getting people to vote. It's been, 20% in the past. I see a lot of, this is not going to affect me. So why do I go through trouble to do that? What can you say to that mentality?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that because I sense that same thing, Jing, and I do fear that people feel far away from the SOA or perhaps are not sure exactly what the SOA does for them or how they should engage after the credential. I mean, when you're in the exams, it's very obvious, right? You have a big job to do, but what comes next? So I appreciate you saying that. And I guess I would say one of my, as I think you can tell, I'm someone who likes to connect with people. I like to listen. I like to connect the dots. And so really one of the things I would really want to lean into as President-Elect and President would be how can we better create that engagement? And I think right now, with all the change that's happening with new technologies, with AI, I think things are going to change so much. There's so much opportunity for us to do more and back amplifying our identity. I think there's just so much where we need people to work together, but also I think the SOA could play more of a role, part of the bigger team, but play a role to help perhaps facilitate, research and case studies in new ways of working and connect different organizations that maybe are harder for them to connect on their own. And coming back to identity, I think part of identity is just the way people feel part of the SOA. And I really do want people to see themselves in the SOA and see how the SOA can help them, how they can help the SOA. So, I certainly don't have all the answers, but I think it's a key area, and it's one that I'm personally very excited about engaging in. I think a lot of it is hearing what people have to say and ideas, and helping to connect people to each other, and connect people to ideas to help make them really happen.
That's really great. Well, what's the coolest thing you have done as an actuary?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, I've gotten the chance to travel the world. I would say the coolest thing really is to have such an impact for society. If you think about it, by enabling insurers and employers and governments to make decisions about future uncertainties, that's what allows them to offer protection and security to people, to society, to the public. And so I like to zoom out and think about that, because I think it's so great to be part of that. More specifically, working with especially some of my larger clients, implementing large programs around technology platforms, financial reporting, or storytelling, as I like to call it, and working as part of big teams. And for the profession as a whole, I mentioned volunteering with the IAA. One of the most rewarding experiences I've had is helping associations in other part of the world develop. In Sri Lanka and Korea, we helped those associations reach a full membership with the IAA for the first time. And I've had the chance to work with others around the world, from Togo in Africa to Panama, Latin America, and many others. So I've enjoyed that. And I guess the final thing I'd say, Jing, is just being able to work with and help other people on my teams and those that I've met along the way, and see them succeed. And I think when it comes to the end of the day, that's the most rewarding experience of all, is because what goes on after everything else is done is the people in our lives, and it's great to see them carry on.
How big is that team? The reason, let me backtrack a second. I used to work with a CFO who says, by his definition, everybody he work with and who they work with are who he considers on his team. And he feels almost like a mother hen, watching out for everybody that he feels that he can have an impact on. So when you mention the word team, what is that?
Yeah, it's a great question, but I guess the simple answer would be yes. I think it's all of that. I mean, it's certainly the teams I've worked with at Deloitte, and that's in the US, that's globally. Same for Andersen, same for Cigna. But you're right, it's broader than that. The folks I've volunteered with, the musicians that I've had the opportunity to play with, and others that I've met along the way through different ways in our profession. I consider them all part of the team, and I'm always looking to find new team members, and I look forward to doing more of that in the future.
Am I considered a team member now on your team, on
Absolutely.
Team Darryl?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
I'm so flattered. Thank you. You are age 61.
That's right.
You are probably the fittest 61-year-old that I've ever met. Tell us, what is your secret sauce to reverse aging?
Well, first of all, you're very kind. Thank you for that. I don't know that I've got any secrets per se, but this has been, I would say, a pretty significant part of my life journey. And I had the benefit of discovering holistic health and thinking that way early on. In fact, almost 30 years ago, my dad had received a cancer diagnosis, and I had heard about a place called the Optimum Health Institute in San Diego, OHI. And I said, "Hey, Dad, this place can help you. If you go, I'll go with you." We both went. Pleased to say, my dad lived almost another 30 years after that. He got a lot out of it, but I got a lot out of it too. And I guess I would say a couple things, Jing. One is holistic health to me is just thinking about our health comprehensively. about body, mind, spirit, and also over time. Sometimes there's times where you have to get something done, and so it's a long-term game. And then also thinking about the ways we manage and improve our health holistically, whether it be medicine, more traditional medicine, or healthcare, diet, movement, the way we think, our mindset, all those things, and that naturally leads you to it be important that you have a support team. We talked about team a minute ago, but this is a team sport too. So, of course, your friends and family are all part of that. But physicians, I found a great holistic physician, but I would also include my trainer at the gym, my yoga teacher, my acupuncturist, the people I've met at OHI. All these folks have been part of that. And as an actuary, one of the things I'm excited about, and I've been talking to some of our Deloitte health actuarial team about this, is how can we perhaps better bridge this holistic health world and some of our more traditional insurance and financing structures so that we could provide greater access to this? Because I think there's so much there that can help people.
I feel like you're gonna lead the charge in changing actuarial tables for for the general public.
I would love to, and I truly think this is one of those situations where there could be a win-win of both improving health outcomes, but potentially reducing costs as well.
I think I grew up in the insurance industry, but when I speak with other people, most of the connotation I receive is not positive, and there's this almost resentment that I detect from time to time when people feel like, oh, you're in the insurance industry, you're there just to, make money off the premiums. But I guess in a way, the company does need to be profitable in order to provide claim benefits when that's needed. Insurance companies actually benefit financially when you live longer because there's absolutely alignment there. I feel like because the overall public perception for insurance is not always positive, it's hard to change that mind. But you're absolutely right. There's win-win when people live longer and healthier.
Yeah, I really think so. And I encounter some of those same conversations, Jing. I'm sure we all do, with my friends saying, well, how come sick people can't get health insurance? So, there's a misunderstanding of risk classification. And it kind of comes back to the identity piece that I think we've just got to keep working at communicating, maybe not the details of it, but people sometimes miss the big picture of having insurance at all really gives you the foundation with which to live your life and do the things you want to do and take risks and the other things that make life interesting.
Yeah. Tell us, in terms of holistic decisions, what would you credit your top 3 that had a huge impact for the past 30 years?
I've learned a lot at OHI and other places. So knowledge and intentionality is key. I think we all have holistic health, whether we think of it that way or not, right? We're all body, mind, spirit. And so the knowledge is important because when you get to that point where you need to deal with something, and for me, about 5 years ago, for the first time in my life, I had a pretty severe outbreak of psoriasis, and something I'd never encountered before. And of course, the first advice I got was to take a drug that would suppress my immune system. And this was not that long before COVID. I didn't know a lot about that topic, but I had knowledge enough from OHI and other experiences to say, well, I'm sure there's other ways. So I have worked with a holistic health doctor, and pleased to say I've substantially cleared it without going down that route. So I think knowledge and intentionality is key. I'd also say when it comes to exercise, I think persistence, no substitute for that, as I'm sure you know, as well as variety. I love to walk, especially in New York City, but I do body weight training, strength training. I do yoga regularly. So I think that, persistence and variety in what we do and kind of giving yourself the grace, hey, I'm not going to make it to the gym every day. And that's okay. It's that long-term game. And maybe one other is, I call it kind of self-understanding. I think no one knows you better than you. And I think there's a lot to be said for kind of listening to our selves, our bodies, our minds. There's a bit of intuition that I think you can really take in there. And then with that, becoming your own advocate when it comes to healthcare And you have the right to say no, but you also have the right, and believe me, I'm a big believer in Western medicine, so I'm not trying to steer anybody away from that, but there's just so many other things. So making sure you're considering those options. Amongst all that, keeping a positive mindset and staying engaged in your passions. I think that all fuels holistic health in a big way.
So mindset. Are you just happy all the time, Darryl?
For the most part, yes. I am an optimist. I sometimes reflect on the fact that I think I'm just wired as an optimist. And for the most part, I think that's a very good thing. You do have to be careful. Sometimes as an optimist, you can kind of rationalize anything, or kind of make anything seem like it's a good thing, and that's not always the right answer. But that is my natural outlook in life, and I'm not sure exactly where the credit goes. I think it's partly DNA. I think it's partly just the way I practice. I've had great role models in my life around that, including my dad, who recently passed away. But yes, I generally have a smile on my face.
Are you an introvert or extrovert?
Well, the definition of introvert that really resonates with me is it's not so much about are you good around people, but does being with people, does that tend to charge you up more, or does it tend to reduce your charge and you have to recharge your battery? I think I am the latter. So I call myself an introvert because I do enjoy my downtime, but I very much love engaging with people. I think I've always been a fairly social person. So I'll go with extroverted introvert. How's that?
Ambivert. There's a word for
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Good. All right. All right. I like that. Okay.
So virtual high five.
Thank you.
I'm also an introvert. So yes, you're right. There's a common misperception that whether you're good with people or not defines whether you're intro or extrovert. But in fact, if you get your energy from being alone, you're an introvert. So for me, I get most of my best thinking done when I'm alone, like within my own headspace.
Yeah.
For me, extroversion require, like if there's a project I feel really strongly about, there's something I really want to get done, this podcast, right? I can be extroverted and I love engaging with people more one-on-one basis than in a group setting. But that's when I knew, that was about 4 or 5 years ago, that I finally learned that I'm an introvert because I get energy from being with myself. But compared to most actuaries, I behave as if I'm an extrovert because who I'm comparing myself to, and typically it's a profession where we're more quiet and reserved. So I seem more extroverted, but actually I'm an introvert.
No, I think that's a great way to say it. And here's the optimist in me, real-time thinking. I would say we have the best of both worlds, right? Because we do get energy and we do enjoy being with people, but yet we also get energy from being alone too, right? So I would argue we have the best of both worlds.
The next 30 years, as you look forward, what do you see? What are experiences you want to have, and what are things you want to do? Are there things on your bucket list that you want to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. Next 30 years, I would say compared with the last 30, I'll say relatively less work, or maybe not so much
Hopefully.
work to earn a living, right? But I definitely want to stay involved professionally. I'm interested in perhaps serving more in advisory capacity, perhaps on a board, whether it be a non-for-profit or corporate board, but also pursuing things like I mentioned, the holistic health. Is there a way to pursue some linkages and contribute to that? So certainly professionally, I'm excited about that. I have done a lot of traveling. I've had the opportunity to see a lot of places, but there's also a number of places I haven't been to. There's a lot of places I've been to where I'd love to spend more time and just have more relaxed time. So I'm sure that will be a big part of it. More time with family. I've got 4 kids and they live coast to coast. So I have a lot of great places to visit and spend time with them. And I think just continuing to be a student of holistic health and increasingly perhaps sharing my story and helping others. And I would take the opportunity, Jing, to say if there's those out there that would like to talk more about holistic health or psoriasis or music or anything I'd mentioned, I'd be happy to connect with them. And I hope the next 30 years will be a time where I can do more of that and hopefully share something that might be of help and learn from others too, and expand my team like I'm doing today with you.
I love that. I guess is the technical retirement on the horizon?
Well, it is at least retirement from Deloitte. I will be retiring from Deloitte at the end of our current fiscal year, which is right around the end of May next year, 2025. So it is
Wow.
not that far off.
Amazing. Wow. That's, I did not see that coming. uh, are you excited about being able to dedicate more of your time on other things?
For the record, I am excited about it. Yeah, it's one of those things that you see coming for a long time, yet at the end it kind of seems like it comes up quite quickly. But I'm excited about it because it does open the door to a lot of new and interesting things.
Is there going to be like a retirement party or retirement trip or destination celebration for that?
Yes, and I'm hoping more than one.
I love that. I want to go back to the music for a second. You're part of this group. How many actuary/musician are there in the regulators?
Well, actually, and this is a bit of a team building story. The first time we played, there was 5 of us. I played trombone. I was the only horn player in the band. And then as we finished our first performance, someone came up. I'll name him. Tim Dietz came up. Tim worked for many years at Milliman. Came up and said, "Hey, you guys are great. I play the sax. I'd love to join you." And I sort of had that in my mind. And it was literally 10 years later, we played again. I called Tim up and he said, "Yeah, count me in," and joined us. And it was great. So we're now a band of 6 and would love to see that expand as we play again. But it's been so much fun. And then I've got to also give a call out to our band manager, Mary Broche, who's I've known since college. We were classmates together, and when we were first putting this together, Mary said, "How can I help?" And she's not in the band herself, but she found half of the band members and just keeps us organized and keeps us on task. So big call out to Mary as a part of the team.
That's incredible. Do you have to have like an amateur level at a particular instrument? Do you have to be an actuary? What are the requirements for coming into the band?
Well, I would say we are trying to keep it an actuarial band. I would say everybody in the band at least studied actuarial science. I think we've got one member who's not necessarily actively practicing anymore, but yes, some connection to the actuarial profession, I'll say. And then, well, I'll speak for myself. I am definitely an amateur. So there's no strict requirement. I think the requirement would be that you love music, that you're excited to join the group and play. And it's one of those things where each person in the group kind of lends a little different, I'd say, interest in type of music, songs, and which just makes what we do together richer because it's a lesson in diversity, I guess, right? Everybody's contributing to the songs we choose and brings different passions, which is great when you weave it all together.
So how can I get involved?
Would love to figure out a way, Jing. In fact, we are very short on female vocals. So if you do some singing, we could definitely talk about that. And do you play an instrument?
I used to play the thizzer. It's a 21-string instrument. It's a lot of carry every time I go somewhere.
All right. Well, we definitely need to pursue this then.
Oh my! One of my ideas. Be careful what you ask for, right? It may come true.
That's right.
That's amazing. What is the most requested song? Do you do by request or?
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because we now as a band we came together kind of for this specific event for an actuarial meeting. So we didn't really, it's not like we're rehearsing every week or every month through the year. We literally had a couple of days. So we put together, I feel, a pretty impressive set list. So we didn't really set out to take requests, but I think it was the first time we played. We were playing, people were enjoying it, and people were on the dance floor. It was great fun, and I just remember I'll call out one other name in the band, and that's Brad Carlin. Brad is somebody I went to school with at Nebraska. I studied actuarial science. He went on to become a professor in biostatistics and a leader in that area. But Brad is he is kind of our Paul Schaefer, for those who know who Paul Schaefer, the musical director of the band. And so he just started calling out names of songs, and we all just kind of started playing and jamming. So there was a time where we were improvising pretty heavily, and it was a lot of fun because people were getting into it. So I wouldn't say so much a top request list, but as I said, we play Mostly rock and roll, 60s, 70s, more current stuff. We've done a little Prince. We're kind of all over the place, which is fun.
We have to bring this back. It has to be at the Impact meeting or
Yeah.
the other major meetings as well. That's amazing.
I'm all for it.
So Darryl, we're kind of out of time. And is there one other question that I haven't asked and you wish I did? Any last words for our audience?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you again, Jing. This has been such a great experience. I love what you're doing here, and I know it's benefiting a lot of people and will benefit more people. And it kind of, as I step back and think about what is it that I'm really trying to achieve, and I kind of think about what you're helping people do. I think part of it is, hey, whatever I do, I want to do it well. I just really want to show up. And I think that's just important for us all to keep in mind. And the second thing being, I do want to make an impact. I love the impact that actuaries have, that we have as a profession on so many people in so many ways. And so I think it's showing up, but I guess making sure you're showing up in the right place where you can make a difference. And that's the final thing I'd say, making a difference in people's lives, I think is what it all comes down to, because at the end of the day, it's the people in our lives that really matter and are the ones that really carry on from what we do in life.
I love it. Thank you so much, Darryl, for being here. Really appreciate your time and sharing your insights and journey.
All right. Thank you, Jing.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Be Brilliant with Jing Lang. We hope you found valuable insights and motivation to fuel your journey. Be sure to like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. And share this with 3 people in your life endeavoring to achieve personal greatness. Remember, brilliance is within you, and every step you take brings you closer to your best self. Keep striving, keep shining, and until next time, stay brilliant.